After 20 years of building together through dust, deadlines, and damn good ideas, Pace and Adam invite you to join them for honest conversations about the home building world. Welcome to Build Connected, where experience meets insight, powered by Diamond Home Restoration.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us last week for the introduction. I realized that, we're new at this, so we kind of just jumped right in and started asking questions. And we didn't really say, I guess, what we do. Adam and I own Diamond Home Restoration. We're general contractors in the San Francisco Bay Area. The other thing that we want to do is I want to thank my wife. Adam wants to thank his family for all the help and support, kind of getting this thing up and running. And we want to take a second. I think Adam wants to go back to last week and get back into something that happened last week.
I did? What did I want to get back into?
Well, I think you wanted to talk about that whole golf tennis fiasco in the lightning round.
Did I? Oh yeah, I did think about your question a little bit after that. These two things are so different, right? I mean, when I think of tennis, I want to get out there. I want to get some exercise. I also want to kick my buddy's ass, who I play tennis with occasionally. But that's like the exercise side of thing. Then there's the golf side where, in my head, I still think I can play golf like I did when I was younger, when I was good. So I have this positive attitude going into that game. But usually by like hole 10 or 11, that's when we start cracking beers and, it turns into something else. So we got like exercise, really energetic on one side. You got hope in the other side that falls apart and crumbles into just, I guess, all out fun and what have you. So, it depends what you're feeling that day, right? So I don't know, both fun in their own thing. One might get your heart going in a positive way. The other might bring tears to your eyes because you're so disappointed in yourself, and then you start having a few beers and you never know what happens after that. But I don't know. That's my 2 cents on the sports.
There it is. That's a good answer. That is how you're supposed to answer a lightning round question. All right. So you've set the expectations for the next lightning round that you face. But for now, let's go into segment one, which we talked about discussing new innovations, techniques or products in the field. What is it we are going to talk about today?
I'd like to talk a little bit about the autonomous pods. These things are very cool. Autonomous is a brand of pod that we have experience with. We've done a number of these, but they're prefabricated pods. And, we find that a lot of our clients need more space. Maybe they need an extra room. Maybe they need an office space. Maybe they need a place for guests to stay. Whatever it is, these prefab pods really fit that need. So, well, let's just talk about a few things about these pods. We can talk about permits, how nice and easy and fast they are, how cost effective they are, and the looks of them. So let's talk about permitting. It depends really your jurisdiction, but where we are, you don't need a permit for a shed, and these kind of qualify as a shed, these prefab units. And let's talk about speed. They get delivered within a couple of weeks. They install in 3 to 5 days, depending on who's doing it. Things like electrical, plumbing, these things don't have plumbing in them, but in terms of lighting and outlets, they come already pre-wired. There's basically a proprietary cord that these companies offer, Autonomous does anyway, and you basically plug it into the back of the pod and plug it into an outlet, and everything's powered up. You're good to go. And the look of these things are really modern looking. So, really nice looking pod, nothing, not this old kind of tough shed kind of look. Nothing against tough sheds. I have one in my backyard. I keep my tools in them real nice, or whatever else you might want to keep in there. None of my business. But yeah, they have a nice modern look. The Autonomous offers a few different options. I think there's roughly in the $20,000 range to purchase these things. But in any case, I think it's a good way to go if you're looking for that extra space. Is there anything maybe you want to add?
I've loved working with these things. They've been the perfect solution. The only thing I'd add is, if you're looking for a prefab or a modular solution, start by looking in your local area. A lot more people are building these things in a warehouse as an affordable housing solution. So I just say start local. Autonomous was great to work with, but if you can cut down on that delivery fee and support your local community, even better.
Great point, Pace. It's always better to buy something local if you can. The next thing we're going to talk about is the design and permitting phase of a project. There's so much that happens before a hammer is even swung. And getting things right at this stage is really the key to whether or not a project is successful or not. So, Pace, what is it that you're going to be talking about today?
It's really interesting. This phrase design disconnect, which we talk about, it goes back to like architecture students when they are kind of taught about the process of putting a design together. Once you get to that early schematic phase where you've got just a rough concept of what the project is, you start getting input, pricing input, so that a client can make decisions about whether or not this project will fall within their budget. If you skip over that step, if you just go all the way through the design process without any real-time pricing input, you can find yourself in a place where you have a great project that may be well beyond your budget that you can't build. So you have a choice of either starting over with the design or maybe sacrificing and going with a cheap contractor to try to build. There's a much better way to go about it. And it's a very common sense approach. It's just putting your team together early. And so that's design, that's builder. Obviously, the homeowner is a critical part of the team. And you could throw the engineer in there too. And so with that team put together early, you can do real-time pricing, right? As the design takes shape, you can investigate various options. You can see what it does to the budget. And you can make really informed decisions. That idea of just going out blind, 3 bids, it puts homeowners in this very human nature position of selecting the lowest bidder, which is never a good idea. You should never stretch your project to the biggest scope for the cheapest price. It's your home. You want to make sure that you can trust your builder to provide the quality that you expect. So I think just that simple step of putting your team together early has great results. We've moved on to this pre-construction approach. We won't bid on a completed set of design because we found that 9 times out of 10, the homeowner has already gone down a road that is a bit of a trap. So if we're not there early, providing input, then we usually pass on the project.
Thanks for that, Pace. I think that helps shed some light on how to approach this topic a little bit. And I think we'll have a chance to dive deeper into our pre-construction process and shed some light, get more granular on what you can really expect from somebody that can help you through that process and bring everybody together, talking about budget and design.
Yeah, this industry portion, you're right, we're gonna come back week after week and drill down into all of the facets. When I mentioned going through that design process, here in the Bay Area, there's so much regulation. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that too. Where there are real safety concerns, where there are, places that the regulation helps us build better homes, but also shine a light on the real obstacles that prevent, building efficiently with any sort of a timeline. So we'll keep coming back to it. Well, that moves us on to segment 3, which is discussing something fun that's happening on one of our job sites. We typically are running 2 or 3 houses at a time, and there's always fun things to talk about. Our world is custom home remodeling for 90+% of our projects. Adam, what do you want to talk about this week? Something that's going on out there and fun.
Pace, when we have our job sites going, we always need a place for the guys to have a bathroom to use. So we have porta-johns, but no one really likes looking at these things. So we had to come up with a clever way to make them look a little better, spruce them up a little bit. So that's when we came up with the idea of PortaPizazz. No longer just an ordinary porta-john toilet, right? We would wrap these things with some cladding and make them beautiful, make them stand out. We would have seasonal approaches to these things. We would decorate these things depending on what season it was. If it was Halloween, we'd have Halloween stuff on there. We'd have plants on there, all kinds of ornamental creations. In fact, my favorite thing is when we had a little chalkboard on there, and we would do questions of the day or riddles of the day, and we'd leave a piece of chalk out there for people to write answers on. Although with that project, we were near a school, so sometimes you get some school kids with the chalk, and strange things would show up on that board the next day. But there you have it. Anything you want to add to our porta-pizzazz ideas?
Yeah, I mean it's a point of pride, I think, for the company. Like we always have our sign on it somewhere, right? So the neighbors know who we are, they know how to get in touch with us. But it makes the neighborhood a little bit prettier. Instead of having that bright orange or bright blue porta potty, it's a little bit dressed up. I remember a project we did, 10 years ago, maybe, when we first started doing these. I had this harebrained idea of putting a fountain on the side of it. And I set up a solar panel, and there was a battery powering it. I remember that night, the first night we had it going, the battery ran out and an alarm went off when we weren't there and woke up the neighbors and stuff. And so that was very short-lived, but we've got nothing but compliments from that job to job. So it's been a ton of fun to do.
Yeah, good stuff, Pace. Those those are always fun to do and get creative. And yeah, the neighbors really do it and enjoy seeing what's coming next on the old toilet wrap stuff.
Well, that was a pretty good week on Build Connected. To recap, we talked a little bit about the autonomous pods and what sort of a solution they are for your backyard. We talked a little bit about that design development phase before a hammer is swung. And then we finished up with some talk on our porta-pizzazz that we do on the job sites. I just want to go back and thank our families once again for all the help they've given us. And it was a great little ride this week again, Adam.
Yeah, it was a great week. Doing the podcast is a lot of fun. We're certainly learning as we go along this process. But now it's my turn to hit you with a few questions, maybe one or two. So, you're older than I am. Some have said you're my father in the past.
Easy.
And, old people, they like to sit around the table, do puzzles. I know you're a big puzzle guy. What's the puzzle of the week today?
Wow. Big question, important question. We have a big dining room table, and I'm going to take a second. Many years ago, my wife and I bought a salvaged lot of sugar pine from the original Budweiser horse barn in St. Louis. We shaped those planks into a big dining room table that's really a central feature of our house. And we've got a revolving puzzle table set up on it at all times. And right now, I'm pretty sure there's a giant tree with various cat houses puzzle underway.
So you're admitting that you're a crazy cat person?
More than admitting. 2 cats, and they rule the house for sure. And yeah, you say that with pride.
Well, I'm allergic to cats. That's the only reason I said it. Hey, who doesn't love a cute little cat?
There you
But
go.
I have a hypoallergenic dog for allergenic reasons that I
Better for you.
rescued from the breeder. In any case, well, look forward to, seeing how that puzzle turns out, and maybe we can talk about another puzzle another day. But until next time, I'm Adam.
I'm Pace. Thank you.
See you later.
Thanks for joining us on Build Connected. For more stories, insights, and ideas, visit diamondhomerestoration.com or find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We'll be back next week. We hope you will too.